Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. So this week's book of the week is Words That Work. It's not what you say, but it's what people hear, by Frank Luntz. Now, Frank Luntz is a famous Republican political pollster. Now, politics aside, and again, I claim no political party. I'm just a cynical observer of American politics. He's very good at what he does. Now, you may not immediately remember who he is, but let me give you a little idea. You remember how we used to call it global warming, and somehow now we say climate change, which seems a lot less sinister. Or the estate tax, the tax that very, very rich people end up paying when they pass away. Well, we don't call it estate tax anymore. We call it a death tax, which doesn't matter what income bracket you're in. Why would you ever want to tax somebody when they die, right? Well, he's responsible for that language, and he's very effective at what he does. Now, Frank Luntz polls a variety of groups and people throughout the country to understand what motivates voters, what resonates with them. And he wrote an entire book on it, and most importantly, because of the company that he has that does this, that does political polling, which he's been doing for, well, I think well over 30 years, maybe 40 years even, they've put down all the case studies in this book. And most importantly, he puts together a lot of great lists, and one of the ones I love the most is 10 rules of effective communication. Now, if you follow this list, anything that you do, whether you're asking for a promotion, you're creating a sales pitch, you're marketing to somebody, you're trying to convince a spouse about something or a family member, you use these rules, you'll be a lot more effective and, more importantly, persuasive. So let's get to this list. Now, number one, simplicity. Use small words. Now, we have this tendency to show how smart we are by using really big, fancy words. If you're trying to be effective and persuasive, get rid of the big words. Use small, easy, simple words. Because if you're trying to get somebody to digest and understand an idea of yours, that's by itself, it's already enough work for the brain to do that. Don't give them an extra add-on, which is this very complicated word, which they may or may not know. And even if they do know it, the brain still has to end up processing it. Simple, brief, easy words. Number two, brevity, right? Use short sentences. So if something can be said in 3 words, do it in 3 words, not 10 or 15 or 20. Short and simple and effective, like a quick punch, is going to be a lot more powerful. Number 3, credibility is as important as philosophy. Now, when you're providing the background for an idea you have to have some kind of credibility. That doesn't mean that you have to have the degree or experience in it, but you have to have the conviction for it. You have to have the belief. People have to believe you, right? And different things such as where you got this idea, where it's been done, the effect of it. Those kind of things will help. Number 4, consistency and repetition matter. Now, I was very lucky a few years ago to meet the founder of Men's Wearhouse, George Zimmerman, the guy who says you're going to like the way you look. And he told me something very interesting. He said, marketing is not about being creative. Great marketing is just about being consistent and persistent. And it's the same thing here. So if you have an idea, constantly repeating it, right? So that way more and more starts seeding into people's minds. That's what's going to help. And again, politics aside, when Trump ran for 2016, what was his famous campaign slogan, right? That again was simple, brief. It was "Make America Great Again," right? And he repeated that in all of his speeches. Now, some of you who disagree with me, let me ask you this. What was Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan? Exactly. Number 5, novelty. Now, whether it's in America or anywhere else, people like novelty. They like new things, but especially here in America, we don't like to go backwards. We're a nation that likes to move forward on things. So even on old concepts, and let's just use the "Make America Great Again" one, it is looking backwards, but it is more of a forward-looking statement, which is like we want to go from where we are today and be at a higher place tomorrow, right? So again, new ideas are going to be very important. And even let's say it's an old idea, taking it and dressing it up in a new way that might fit for today is going to be best. And if you look at a lot of ideas that are being passed on to today, none of them are technically original or new, but they're just proposed in a new way. Number 6, sound and texture matter. Now, did you notice the first 5 rules here? Simplicity, brevity, credibility, consistency, novelty. You know, there's a sound and texture to that. Okay, think about M&Ms. Melts in your mouth, right? Or Intel inside, right? It's important to have the right sound and texture to these things because we are, you know, by nature, you know, sort of a sound and feel type of animal, right? So when you're able to incorporate that in your messaging, again, the whole idea is resonance. It'll help. Number 7, be aspirational. Now, again, whether you're dealing with customers, a voting population, a family member, every human being on planet Earth is in point A and they're trying to get to point B. Point A could be that they're in poverty, they're unhappy, they are sick, etc. And they're trying to get to point B, which is they want to have wealth, success, great health, happiness, whatever it might be. Okay? And when you give them that vehicle, that idea to go from point A to point B, you're going to be a lot more effective at communication. Number 8, visualize. When you can see something in someone's head so they can actually visualize the idea, it'll resonate and stay with them. So a great example of visualization is, you know, in I think one of the debates, somebody described another candidate's ideas as taking us all into a sinkhole, right? So when you're able to give that sort of vehicle, right, and help people visualize that, it's important. Now here's a big piece about this. A lot of time people use metaphors and analogies which are not very good or effective at persuasion. But when you do things like visualization, and let's say you're using some sort of analogy to do that, okay, use the same language. Don't use a, you know, football term like, say, you know, we got to do some more blocking and tackling to get this over the line, and then change it to something like, you know, and then really, you know, drive it home for a slam dunk. You're using too many different things, and the visual is not going to be there. Stick to one visual. All right. Number 9, ask a question. Okay. The best thing about marketing is to ask a question to let someone else's imagination do the work. And again, I'm going to go back to visualization. One of the most powerful and the number one most powerful word that Frank Luntzshows says that can be used in the 21st century is the word imagine. When you tell people imagine, you're allowing them to not only visualize, but also by asking that question, you let their imagination do all the work. So instead of telling them all the great effects and everything and say, you know, we're going to implement this change in this company and it's going to make us more profitable, more this, more that. Say, we're going to implement this change. Imagine what our company is going to look like when we do this. All right? You allow them, whoever that is, maybe somebody's looking at the financial side, maybe someone's looking at a culture side, okay? Let this person imagine it. And the last one is give context and relevance. So you can always explain to people what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, but if you don't have the why, in their mind, they're going to always say, so what? So always give the contents and background as to why this is important and why it's relevant to them. So that's the book of the week. I'll be writing an article on this soon and releasing this, but definitely worth getting. Buy it, read it, keep it on your desk. You'll thank me later for it. As always, happy Wisdom Wednesday, and I'll see you next week.